The other thing that's coming on the board is another squad, and I'm choosing, again, because of 5th edition rules, to break it up into 2 separate squads. One that will be mobile with my flamethrower, and one that will remain stationary with my missile launcher, because the missile launcher is identified as a heavy 1 weapon. If I move any guys within the squad that contains the missile launcher cannot fire. As I brought my troop choices, you'll know that there's a significant gap here between this 5-man portion of the squad and this 5-man portion of the squad. There's a reason. Again, they're combat squads, and they are not required to deploy in the same place. Effectively, if I wanted to, I could put all my guys with my missile launcher that far apart. So I have one portion of the squad here, one portion of the squad there. It's still legitimate in 5th edition rules. Now I'm still in my movement phase, and the Space Marines have to decide whether or not the groups that are on here are going to move. This squad back here with the commander attached has a missile launcher. If I move them, they can't fire, so they're not going to move. The guys up here behind this piece of scenery with the flamethrower template are going to move because they're interested to get into closer range. Notice again that I'm staying behind the edge of the tape measure when moving my figures out. Now I'm going to maintain the same exact formation from here to there, so I don't have to measure each and every guy. The Space Marine chapter at this point is done with their movement phase. The reserves were brought on, they moved their maximum allotment, and I moved the one set of guys that I was interested in moving. Now we're going to go ahead and run. We're going into the shooting phase. During the shooting phase, you can either fire or you can run them. Again, the standard equipment for a Space Marine is what's called a bolter weapon. A bolter weapon acts the same way as the Gauss. What's the standard weapon on the Necrons? The Gauss
blaster.
Gauss blaster. It's a rapid fire 24-inch weapon. Since I moved them in from reserves, the farthest distance they can fire is 12 inches. There's clearly no Necrons within 12 inches of this unit right here. So for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and run them. They get to run 4 inches. Since these guys back here, I've already moved them on, the missile launcher cannot fire. I want to get in better visual range of my Necron opponent, so I'm going to have them run as well. And they roll again a 4. Now I go into my firing. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to declare firing between this unit and the Necron Necron destroyers. Let's see if I'm within 12 inches. Taking the lead guy, you can see that the tape I use the 12-inch marker at the front of his base. I'm clearly within range for this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, as well as this guy. As long as I can get as long as I can target one unit on the opposite side with the guy in the back, he can fire. And again, they move forward so they have a 12-inch rapid fire range. The flamethrower, this is a combination template, so it's got the flame template here. This outer ring here is the small blast, and the last ring on the outside is the large blast template. For a flamethrower, you use the flame template. Putting that directly in front of the guy with the flamethrower, he has no reach to the guys that are the heavy destroyers that they declared that they're going to fire against. So this guy's out, but I have 4 guys that can fire now against the destroyer. Okay, remember that we had 4 guys within rapid fire range of the Necron destroyers. So for each guy you take 2 dice. 4 times 2 is 8, you roll 8 dice. Now we need to talk a little bit about the character sheets from the codexes. Space Marines across the board, with the standard Space Marines have a ballistic skill of 4. To determine what you need to roll in order for my guys to hit with their weapons, you take the number 7 and you subtract your ballistic skill from it. So they have a ballistic skill of 4. You need to get to a 7. Each one of these, if I roll a 3 or higher, hits the Necron destroyer. Taking the 8 dice. So I have a 4, a 5, 6. You remove the 1s and 2s. and 5 hits out of the rapid fire range weapons. You now roll to see if you wound. The bullets have hit the Necrons, but the question is, did the bullet bounce off? Or did it actually penetrate? To determine what you need to roll, you take the strength of the weapon. In this case, it's a bolter, so you look at your weapon chart. In the back of the 5th edition book, you'll notice that there is a overview of the different armies and their weapons that they have. So, if we take a look at the Space Marine forces, this is on page 98 of the rule book. You'll notice that, actually you're going to want to go to page 99 for the actual weapons section. A bolt gun, has a strength of 4. Now, you take the strength of that weapon when you're firing, and you compare it to the toughness of your opponent. If you take a look at page 110 in your rulebook, you'll notice that there is a to wound chart. So, you'll take your strength of the weapon, which is a 4. You take the strength of the weapon, which is a 4, versus the toughness, which is a 5. And you'll see that you need a 5+ in order to hit. So let's roll these 5 hits and see whether or not I cause any wounds against the Necron Destroyer. I rolled 3 4s, which do nothing, and 2 6s, which means I cause 2 wounds. Now we need to talk about armor penetration. The bolt gun has an AP value, which stands for armor penetration, of 5. The armor on a Necron Destroyer is a 3+. It sounds like a 4 would beat a 3, but the way that the rules work in 40k is that your armor penetration needs to be at the armor value or less in order to negate any armor save. So now the Necron player needs to roll 2 dice to determine whether or not he saves the wounds. And the save that he's looking for is his armor save, since my armor penetration value on my bolt gun is not low enough to penetrate his armor.
What about that cover save you mentioned before?
The Necron Destroyers did move 24 inches forward, which gives them an automatic 4+ cover save. If I had hit him with a AP2 weapon, such as a las cannon, then it's less than his armor value, at or less than his armor value, so he doesn't get an armor save. But he would have a chance to roll an invulnerable save. When you're rolling saves, you only get one choice. You either have to do an armor save, a cover save, or an invulnerable save. You can only roll once. So now, for the Necron player, he's got 2 dice to roll for his armor. So as long as he rolls a 3 or higher, the bullets that hit him don't cause any casualties. He rolls a 5 and a 4, so the Necron Destroyers take no casualties. We're done with that squad's firing.